When it comes to tentpole films, one key aspect of the overall package is the release date, with blockbusters often being shown during the summer, horror movies during the Halloween season, and so on. However, one of the more unofficial release seasons in the movie business goes by the name of the dump months. This is when films are released, often in January, for, let's say, strategic purposes. Now, why does this happen? Well, dump movies are often released due to a number of factors, such as poor test screenings, for example, which can cause movie studios to lose faith in the project. These films can also be lower budget and feature lesser-known stars, or can flat out just lack any real critical and financial expectations. Yet on some remarkable occasions, these films actually manage to surpass expectations by making a ton of money and even being, good. I'm Gareth from WhatCulture.com, and here are 10 movies that escape the dump month curse. Number 10, Final Destination 2. Final Destination 2 takes the premise of the original and dials it up to 11. The film increases the set pieces and dark humor while staging even more elaborate death scenes for its hapless survivors. And while the previous movie featured an iconic plane explosion, the sequel tops it with one of the best car crash sequences ever to be put on celluloid. The film received mixed to negative reviews from critics, who lambasted its bare minimum plot and the excessive/illogical set pieces. Audience reception, however, was much more positive, with numerous horror sites citing Final Destination 2's opening pileup in particular as being brilliantly conceived. Released on January 31st, 2003, Final Destination 2 grossed $90.4 million on a $26 million budget. Though it is the lowest earning Final Destination movie, it still made a decent amount of money in a dump month. Number 9, Bad Boys for Life. A return to the Bad Boys franchise initially looked like Hollywood running out of ideas, it must be said. There were numerous concerns, such as the 17-year gap between sequels, Will Smith's apparent decline in star power, and even the lack of Michael Bay. This was largely why no one was really that surprised to discover Sony Pictures had opted to exile the movie for a January 17, 2020 release. But Bad Boys for Life would actually defy all odds by keeping things that worked in previous installments, while addressing some of the criticisms too. For example, while Michael Bay's style is distinct, his sequences could be frantic and confusing, so directing duo Adil and Bilal took steps to make the action clear and legible. Another sour point was how the protagonist could often be found acting mean-spirited and unlikable, and the film addresses this by toning down some of the crass humor while focusing on more character development. It's no wonder then that Bad Boys for Life is the highest rating and highest grossing entry in the trilogy, receiving positive reviews from critics and grossing $424.6 million worldwide. Its January release date would also prove to be a blessing in disguise, as it would be one of the last films released before the global pandemic. Number 8, Taken. Taken marked the turning point of Liam Neeson's career. Sure, the celebrated actor had blockbusters like Star Wars Episode 1: The Phantom Menace and Batman Begins under his belt, but before January 30th, 2009, he was not necessarily known for his combat skills or as an all-out action star. How then did Taken shift the trajectory of his career? A key aspect of the film's success is its simple premise, chronicling a father trying to save his child from the bad guys. Though its basic plot is formulaic and did not impress critics, it was accessible to casual moviegoers, which led to the film grossing $226.8 million on a meager budget, despite even Neeson himself expecting the film to be released direct-to-video. And with the financial success of the film, Liam Neeson's career would soon shift from dramatic works to action-heavy ones. This led to 2 Taken sequels released in 2012 and 2014, and subsequent action outings like Run All Night, Non-Stop, and the underrated The Grey 2. Number 7, The Count of Monte Cristo. The Count of Monte Cristo is the big-screen adaptation of the classic Alexandre Dumas novel and was released on January 25th, 2002. The movie stars Jim Caviezel, Guy Pearce, Richard Harris, Luis Guzman, and a pre-Superman Henry Cavill. A big strength of the film is Caviezel, of course. Playing the title role, he embodies the initially naive nature of an Edward Dantes, who soon becomes a hardened man due to his unjust imprisonment. The actor has the burden of juggling numerous stages of Dante's life, and thankfully he brilliantly succeeds in this task. Yet despite reservations from Dumas purists, The Count of Monte Cristo received favorable reviews from the critics and general audiences. It also grossed $75.4 million on a $35 million budget due to the resurgence of old-school swashbucklers started by The Mask of Zorro in 1998. a film that would also pave the way for the original Pirates of the Caribbean in 2003. Number 6. Scream 2022. Scream revitalized the horror genre in 1996, and its popularity would massively shape slasher films in the following years. But after the 90s, the franchise seemed like it had very much run its course, a fact proven when Scream 4 became the lowest grossing entry in 2011. So with the absence of Wes Craven and a January 14, 2022 release date, could a new entry seriously capture the series' glory days? Could a new entry seriously recapture the series' glory days? Thankfully, Radio Silence honored Craven's legacy. Honored Craven's legacy with the release of Scream 2022. The film focuses on a brand new cast of characters but gives the respect that the legacy heroes like Sidney Prescott and Gale Weathers deserve. This decision resonated with critics and fans as this fifth entry was much better received than Scream 3 and Scream 4. Another large factor in the movie's overall success financially was that by late 2021 and early 2022, movie theaters were finally reopening again, which led to more fans than ever eager to watch just about any film that was showing. The movie grossed $140 million worldwide, and its success fast-tracked a sequel slated for this year. Number 5. Split. M. Night Shyamalan's fame rose with the release of The Sixth Sense in 1998, but he somewhat fell from grace with terrible entries like The Happening and The Last Airbender. By the 2010s, it seemed like the filmmaker's glory days were sadly long behind him. However, he eventually started focusing on smaller works again, and would make one hell of a comeback with Split. Released on January 20th, 2017, the film proved that while some of his past concepts have often been poorly executed, Shyamalan remains one of the most creative filmmakers out there on his day. On a $9 million budget, the film grossed an impressive $278 million worldwide, with critics calling it a return to form. One reason why it succeeded is that Shyamalan takes the intriguing split personality premise and ratchets it up to 11. The movie would also win even more fans over with one of the best Shyamalan twists to date in a humble diner late on. Number 4. Before Sunrise. 1993's Dazed and Confused granted director Richard Linklater a cult following in independent cinema, and his success would eventually continue with the release of Before Sunrise on January 27, 1995. Starring Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy, the film barely has a plot, but despite it simply being about two young people walking around in Vienna, Before Sunrise succeeded by bringing authentic, real people to the big screen. Sure, its narrative may feel mundane at times to some, yet our two leads feel so natural and candid that you just don't care. Jesse and Celine are characters who share an emotional connection, but also have differences in how they view this thing called life. Their falling in love is believable, but at the same time, the film always makes a point of reminding you that they're still two different people with different goals and aspirations. Ultimately, this is why Before Sunrise resonated with audiences despite being a romantic movie that wasn't like many of its contemporaries. In fact, its execution made it very much stand out in comparison to the more typical romantic films being released at the time. The film grossed $22.5 million on a $2.5 million budget, and would spawn two sequels, Before Sunset and Before Midnight, both released after 9-year gaps. Number 3. Cloverfield. Cloverfield is a film that was hugely supported by its brilliant viral marketing campaign. Much like the Blair Witch Project in the 90s, the advertisements were all about the mystery and hiding as much as possible. In fact, one of its teaser trailers didn't even feature a damn title, which made the movie even more intriguing. But past all the pre-release hype, was the film really worth it? Released on January 18th, 2008, everyone's undeniable curiosity led to Cloverfield eventually grossing $172.4 million worldwide on a $25 million budget. At the time, it had the biggest January release ever, and its record would only be beaten 6 years later. In terms of reception, the film was well received by critics and audiences, and is considered one of the finest sci-fi films of the noughties. Its found footage style was praised for being masterfully executed, and despite featuring a rather massive monster, director Matt Reeves opted to focus on the more human story and the ground-level horrors of this city-wide disaster. Number 2. Paddington. Released on January 16, 2015 in the United States of America, Paddington didn't seem like anything special based on its promotional material. The trailers looked generic, while the CGI design left audiences recalling the other terrible experiences of computer-generated animals like Scooby-Doo and Alvin and the Chipmunks. Another red flag came in the form of Colin Firth dropping out of the project, and as so many expected it to be a dumb cash grab, it was a rather pleasant surprise to find out that the film overcame these low expectations and then some. Paddington received critical acclaim and brought home a very high 97% score on Rotten Tomatoes, as critics and audiences praised the outing for its sincerity and as something all age groups could truly appreciate. Paddington also ended up being a financial success, as it grossed $282 million at the worldwide box office. This was doubly impressive as outside of the UK, the titular bear was nowhere near as well known. Ultimately, the gamble of releasing a Paddington movie paid off and led to the release of Paddington 2, which is also considered one of the best films of the 2010s. Not too shabby at all. Number 1, From Dusk Till Dawn. From Dusk Till Dawn acted as a bit of a dream come true for some movie fans, as it involved a collaboration between Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino, arguably two of the most influential filmmakers of the 90s. Released on January 19, 1996, it also boasted an impressive cast featuring George Clooney, Harvey Keitel, Juliette Lewis, Tarantino himself, and Salma Hayek. Critically, the film received mixed to positive reviews, with its gratuitous and B-movie thrills receiving a bit of flack. However, a great deal of praise was also sent the flick's way on the back of that mid-movie genre-shifting twist. You see, From Dusk Till Dawn starts off like a standard Tarantino crime flick, but once the inhabitants of the strip club are revealed to be vampires, it very much becomes a B-movie horror film that only Robert Rodriguez could pull off. From Dusk Till Dawn grossed $59.3 million on a $19 million budget, before ultimately spawning 2 direct-to-DVD sequels and a TV show. Not bad for a film once described as a triumph of vile over-content, eh? And that's our list of any other movies that escaped the dump month curse. Let us know all about them in the comments section right down below, and do not forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button while you're at it. Also, if you like this kind of thing, then please head on over to whatculture.com and find some more fantastic articles just like the one this video you're watching right this second is based on. I've been Gareth from whatculture.com. Thank you as always for watching this fantastic video today. Hopefully I'll see your faces very, very soon, but in the meantime, hey, just be good to yourself. Bye bye.